officially time to start the meeting as your sergeant at arms.
Uh-oh.
Welcome to our meeting.
It's Bob the Builder.
Be careful, be careful. Oscar has the...
Yeah, it started. I hit the mallet or the gavel or the whatever, the hammer. Our club mission, we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in self-confidence and personal growth. So with that, I turn to George. There we go, for the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we do have the privilege of our wonderful George to be our Toastmaster. With that, I give him control of our meeting. Please help me welcome George.
Thank you, Oscar. Thank you. Let me get her underway. So as you can see, this week's theme is about Cinco de Mayo and other cultural celebrations. So as we change from major transition points, to the table topic speaker, the evaluation section, then I'm going to share with you a bit of some of the different things that are available. But the first one I wanted to do, and I'm going to get to our guests and the other things before we start, but I wanted to tell you a little bit about Cinco de Mayo, because today's Cinco de Mayo. So why not? It was, we don't have a quizzer, and you got to remember this stuff for the quiz. Okay. It really came about because Mexico defeated a French army in Mexico. And that's what started the celebration in 1862. And guess what? The United States kind of adopted that celebration. It started in California in 1863, just a year later. But that went on, I mean, it's gone on forever. But now Cinco de Mayo generates as much beer sales as the Super Bowl. Yeah. But let us now turn our thoughts to hearing from our visitors. One more time we have two visitors tonight, right? Let's start with Paul, and then we'll hear from Janice. Paul, tell us a little bit about you and your club, perhaps.
Hello, everyone. Paul Norby from the Winter Haven Club. Margaret invited me last week, and here I am. Margaret's good to see you again. She was club president a few years back, and I followed in her footsteps.
Okay, Janice?
Yes.
Where do you hail from, and what's your club?
I live here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I actually belong to 3 clubs here. One is Roadmasters, Toastmasters of Cheyenne. I belong to a small club called Hear Me Roar here in Cheyenne, and then one up in Casper because we can do the online meetings, and that one's Pathfinder. And I've been having a really grand time going around visiting other clubs online. It's really a lot of fun. I'm glad to be here.
Sorry. I was going to say Pathfinders. That sounds so appropriate. Oh, am I muted, Martha?
No, but you're
Okay.
not very loud.
Oh, I'm trying.
No, you're not very loud.
How about now?
That's better, but there's feedback.
I'll pull the plugs out. Anyway, Pathfinders was probably Pathfinders before Pathways came along, didn't it? Wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. A
There's
long time
mine
before.
up near Casper, isn't there? Called Pathfinders.
Right. That's the one.
Yeah. I thought so. Okay, let's move it on. Now, before we go on, our next thing on our agenda is the Energizer moment. And as Jana Banana Shelfer is going to lead us in that. Jana, take it away.
Well, if today's theme is different cultures, I am going to take you back to my childhood culture of Belleville, Kansas. That's right. This is something that I learned when I was 7 years old at the library during story time. I need everybody to take yourself off mute so that we can hear each other laugh. And I need everybody to be willing to let loose and participate. Are we ready?
We're ready.
Here we go. Hi, my name is Joe, and I'm working at a button factory. One day, my boss came up to me and said, "Hey, Joe, are you busy?" And I said, "No." So turn those buttons with your hands. Hi, my name is Joe. Everybody, I'm working at a button factory. One day,
Hey.
the boss came up to me and said, "Hey, Joe, are you busy?" And I said, "No." So turn those buttons with your elbows. Hi, my name is Joe, and I'm working at a button factory. One day, my boss came up to me and said, "Hey, Joe, are you busy?"
Are you busy?
So turn that button with your head. Hi, my name is Joe, and I'm working at a button factory. One day, my boss came up to me and said, "Hey, Joe, are you busy?" And I said, "Yes."
I was literally like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to stop. I'm getting dizzy.
All I see is Margaret's flowers going by.
That's a nice one.
We are all energized now.
Yes. And now that I know you're all energized and a bunch of goofballs, I think that together we should sing "Happy Birthday" to Miss Sandy.
Yes! Woo! Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy
birthday, dear Sandy. Happy birthday to you.
Say hi. Recording the album.
It's my other group. It's my
Hey.
last meeting.
Thank you, Jana. Thank you.
The last thing you saw.
All right. Now, we need to review the roles for today because I don't think they're all filled. So let's go down the line. We have our speakers set. I see them both here. And that's going to be Felicia and Jason. Then we have our table topics through Sandy. Right? General evaluator is Pilar. Evaluator number 1 is going to be Oscar. Evaluator number 2 is Sandy. And then our counter for the day is, did I catch that? Yeah. Martha. I'm looking at Martha. She's going to be our timer. Raise your hand, Martha. Now, I point that out because you want to pin her video if you're a speaker, because sometimes if you don't have her pinned, then she can be on a second page and you don't know what the time is. So if you just go pin her by, and if you don't know how to pin, you just go to her name or her face. You'll see the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner. If you click on those 3 dots, it says pin video. If you do that with Martha, then you'll always have her as one of your screens. So please do that. Now, let's look back at the roles because I was just getting back down to the grammarian. And our grammarian for the day is not here. And Janice, did you say you were volunteering for something?
Somebody volunteered.
I said I'd be happy to be grammarian if you needed it or whatever.
Okay, Janice, you're elected. By
Okay.
Exclamation.
So I'm
Now,
grammarian?
So what's the word of the day?
Shock.
What was that?
Yes,
I don't have one.
I know. Anybody have a suggestion? Throw one out.
Culture.
All right, culture. Let's see
That's a
if we
good word.
can use that.
Yes.
I used to grow virus cultures. Does that count?
No.
All right. Now we need a quiz master. Who doesn't have a role? Who doesn't have a role and can be our quiz
I
master?
know him doing the Toastmaster Minute.
Yeah, you're going to do the Toastmaster Minute.
Okay.
Patty, do you have a role? Patty? Hit your
Patty
space
may
bar
have
and
gone
talk to
out.
me, Patty.
She might be trying to get back in.
Yeah. All right.
I have table topics and I have evaluator, but if I need to
There's
be a
Patty.
big quiz.
Patty's
My
back.
internet, I'm sorry to interrupt you guys. My internet is not working properly, but I have the all counter role today.
Ah. Okay, thank you, Patty. So who did we? Margaret, you're going to be our quizzer today. Patty is our OCAP. Do I have it all?
You want me to be quizzer or grammarian?
No, Janice is grammarian.
Oh, okay.
And you are the quiz master.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. That means you have to pay attention. We can all go to sleep almost, huh? No, it doesn't work that way, Margaret. Okay, we're all the way down the line. And yeah, I'm your Toastmaster today. Let me see if I have everything. One last reminder, be sure to silence your phones. In fact, it really helps if you turn them face down, because during a meeting, I must get 5 or 6 text messages popping up and I keep looking over. And that's when I'm speaking. So put your phone on silence. And if you can, put it face down, if you can go without it for that long. Mute your microphones while a speaker is speaking. Please have your cameras on if you're a speaker. And show your appreciation with applause and applause. Now, to the best part of the meeting. And we're going to turn, no, wait. Miriam is saying, wait a minute, the Toastmaster Minute. And Miriam is going to do the Toastmaster Minute for us. Go ahead, Miriam.
Well, thank you, Toastmaster George, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Since our theme for tonight is Cinco de Mayo, I thought I'd give you a little bit of background about avocados. So in case you guys don't use avocados a lot, it's a very nutritious fruit. So it originated in South Central Mexico between 5,000 to 7,000 BC. And actually a different name to avocados is the alligator's pear. It's basically been introduced to the locals around that era specifically, since a lot of people were basically hunter-gatherers, so it was not cultivated in a, I would say, popular way like as we see it today. It's a widely popular here in both North and South Americas, and it's also expanding worldwide, although sometimes it's a little bit challenging for a lot of countries to get it, so they rely on importing it from the South and Central Americas. With that being said, that's all for tonight, and I wish that our meeting go as smooth as avocados. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, because we love avocados here. You see, that's one of our fatty keto foods that we eat. So we don't go a day without an avocado. Apple a day keeps the doctor away. You're avoiding him anyway. Why not? Now for the best part of the day, and that's our speaker portion. And our first speaker, Paul?
Yes.
What happened?
Oh, did I disappear?
No, you just took over our screen. So,
Oh, sorry.
So just hit stop screen share.
Oh, stop. Oh, there. Okay, sorry.
Okay. Okay, everybody mute. Paul, I just muted you. And now we are going to have our first speaker, and we're got to find you on the screen. And that's going to be Felicia Sutton with My Cultural Celebration. My Cultural Celebration, Felicia Sutton.
Happy Cinco de Mayo! Okay. I have to admit, I have never heard of Cinco de Mayo until I moved to Florida. See, a lot of you know I am from the United States Virgin Islands. Actually, that's my background from back home. In the Virgin Islands, we really don't celebrate Cinco de Mayo. I guess based on the explanation we had earlier, you can basically tell why. But in the spirit of cultural celebrations, I wanted to tell you all about my cultural celebration, Carnival. So let me tell you the history of Carnival, first of all. Carnival was created back in the 1800s. It basically came from the Europeans. When the Europeans colonized the Caribbeans, they exposed their cultural celebrations to the enslaved Africans on the island. Now, the Africans, they had their own cultural traditions because they were from different parts of Africa. They collectively combined their traditions, reinventing it to their own culture. Now, it took a while for their traditions to be accepted by the Europeans. But after a while, they were able to maintain these traditions through the Europeans' cultural celebrations, which took place on holidays and festivals such as Christmas and New Year's. Now, with this combination of traditions, this created an opportunity for a cultural fusion. So now let me tell you about the different types of cultures. The Europeans, they had quadrille. Quadrille actually came from France. It was a dance called polka. But today it's called quadrille. So quadrille is an old folk dance, sort of like square dancing. The dancers wear a madras color costume, sort of like this one. This is madras. The women wear a unique head tie. Ooh. Okay. So now the head tie, believe it or not, has a meaning. The point on the head tie, 1 point on the head tie, means that she's single. She's saying, I am single, and she is basically a virgin that's never been touched. A head tie with 2 points means that she is engaged. She's saying, I am engaged, but you could still try. The head tie with 3 points means that she is married. She's saying, I am married, so don't even try it. The head tie with 4 points means that she is either divorced or widowed. She's saying, I am not engaged, I am not married, so I am ready and I am willing and I will take anything. Now, the Africans, they had bambula. Bambula is a drum made from a rum barrel with a skin covered over the top. Bambula is also an African dance that is accompanied by the bambula drum. With all this combination of traditions, Carnival was born. Over time, it has evolved. It also evolved in the period of time that they occur. So now we have Carnival in Christmas and New Year's. Carnival also takes place in pre-Lent festivals, and also around agricultural cycles. Let me say Barbados, for instance. Barbados has what's called a crop over. And crop over is basically a celebration of the end of the sugarcane harvest. So now with Carnival, we have music, dance, and masqueraders. Me, I love Carnival. I try to go home and celebrate Carnival as often as I can. When I go to Carnival, I see miles of bright, pretty colored costumes, dancing in the streets, masqueraders like this one, swaying the hips and the shoulders, showing off the pretty costumes. Children parading in the streets, dressed in the Madras costumes, preserving the European tradition of the quadrille dance. Mokojumbis, like this one, walking tall on stilts, dancing away evil spirits. The steel pan bands, ponging on the steel pans, playing the most beautiful rhythmic melody I've ever heard. The people enjoying the music, dancing, complimenting the music with the whistles blowing. Ah, I love Carnival. See, because I believe the best way to preserve culture is to live it. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Very good. That was really,
I loved it.
Me too. I want to go dancing.
Yeah.
I want to go
Tracy, I
to
love the way
Carnival
that you
right
were able
now.
to connect your speech to the theme. That was really nice. You should all be that good. But speaking of connecting, our next speaker is Jason, and the name of his speech is Connecting the Dots. Connecting the Dots. Jason P. Shelper.
Yay! Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, and thank you so much, Felicia, because that took me on a trip. And I love going on trips. And some of you have heard about the small village I grew up in. And in that small village, my family may have been considered well-traveled, but we didn't really have benchmarks to to tell whether or not we were well traveled. We didn't have the Facebook or the Instagram or YouTube to look at. We would go to school and we had souvenirs or a Polaroid, or when show and tell got really techie, we had the VHS tapes that we would bring in. So, but I felt really fortunate that I did get to travel a lot with my family, or at least by myself. And the older I get, I realized that I did travel more than a lot of the people that I grew up with. And because I did grow up in a very small town in Northwest Florida. And by the time I graduated high school, I'd spent a month in Europe and a month in Canada and learned a lot about that trip. And when I think of traveling, I think of a map. So almost all the time I picture the map in my head, and I think of significant places that I've been, and I think of significant places that I want to go, and I place those dots on the map. And it makes me think of kind of a life plan. But we can't neglect the journey between those dots, because the journey between those dots is really where life happens. My father didn't really like taking pictures when I was growing up. One of his big sayings on trips was, well, if it's not so special that we won't remember it, we don't need a picture of it. Well, to me, that was a little bit of an oxymoron, because if it is so special that we'll remember it, we don't need a picture. But so we'll never need a picture of anything because it's not special enough, or it's so special that we're going to remember it. And I just like, I love taking pictures, and I've always loved taking pictures. And that's one of the things Jana is like, why are you taking pictures of everything? And so we've got thousands and thousands of pictures in boxes, and thank God for digital now. But our digital library is a mess because of me. So sorry, babe. But I look at the map and I think of all these destinations and getting there. And it's really the journey getting to the destination, because as you look at those destinations and the road getting there, there's pit stops, there's refueling stations, there's detours. And as you go through those life changes and those growth moments, the destination that you wanted to get to may change, and that's okay. It's okay to change where you wanted to end up, because you're going to change as life changes. And those are just things you go through. I remember on my trip in Europe, some of the biggest memories that I had were not the cities. We went through 7 countries in 30 days, 500 miles on bicycles. We camped out every single night, and it was about 40 kids, 15 years old, with about 3 or 4 counselors. And it was a mess, but it was the best mess. And I remember John Charles and Mildred were the 2 people I remember the most from that trip. But John Charles and I were in an alley picking up chips off the ground because we almost run out of money and we weren't long into the trip. We were picking chips up off the ground to eat them, and it was who got to the chip fastest. And then Mildred we were in a park where a lot of performers were performing for money, and Mildred just plops up on her hands to do a handstand and starts walking around the park for 10 minutes on her hands, flopping her legs back and forth. And I guess it was to keep balance or just to look funny. And she's like making it look so easy, like anybody can do what they're doing. But the rest of the 49 of us are going, she's crazy too. Like, who's got these talents, and why don't we have the talents? Like, now we know what we can do for a living, because at 15, you don't know what you're going to do I didn't know what I was going to do for a living, but I was like, I got to learn to do handstands so I can make money. And then closer to about 3/4 through the trip, I'm sitting in Germany in a German doctor's office with my knee the size of my head, and a German doctor who I'm sure was pretending not to speak a lick of English. And he's got a needle the size of my forearm. I know you were scared, honey. But the size of my forearm, and he's going to drain my knee because I've got fluid on my knee. And I don't know how I'm going to finish the trip, but I have to. Well, the connections between the dots and the destinations are where the memories are made. And we can be the connections between each other, but we also have to look at the connections between our goals in life and see how we're getting there and learn from those journeys between the goals that we set for ourselves and make sure we're enjoying that journey, because that's where the meat is in life. So make sure you're enjoying connecting the dots. Thank you. Was I on mute?
Yeah, the whole time.
Yep, the whole time.
I wonder what he said, guys. It's a good pantomime.
You need to repeat it because I forgot to count your ahs and ums and rs.
I counted them. I had one.
Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you, Jason. Now I'm going to turn our attention to India because they have what's called the Holi Festival. Anybody ever heard of that one? Oh, Martha is pointing out that I forgot to ask her a question. Martha, would you give us a timers report? Okay.
Not hearing Martha.
I can't hear you. No, you're on the muted headphone. Just hold.
Okay. Speaker number 1, Felicia, 8 minutes, 13 seconds. Jason, 6 minutes, 3 seconds.
Thank you, Martha. I told her to remind me if I forgot. Sure she wouldn't. I forgot. Anyway, back to India, the Holi Festival. And it's called the Festival of Colors. So you can see some of the goings on over there. But it was a Hindu celebration to commemorate the victory of good over evil and the end of evil. It's pretty interesting. I saw it. But now let's hear some interesting thoughts on impromptu speaking, because that's our next portion of the meeting. And to lead us in table topics is going to be Sandy DePrimo.
Hello. Since the theme of the meeting seems to be culture, I have some questions about culture. And I would like to know who would be the first one to receive a question. Because I can gladly volunteer. But I have Miriam.
Yes.
Miriam, what
Yes.
culture seems to be the most mysterious and interesting to you?
Indian culture.
And why is that?
It's very, very diverse. The country itself, it's so huge. There is the interesting concept of basically the colors, the festivals. There's several beliefs in there. There's several religions, and the food is freaking amazing. I love Indian food, by the way. And beside that, Indian Ayurvedic medicine and culture and civilization has been there for more than 10,000 years. And correct me if I'm wrong in regard that. Those people, specifically Ayurveda, they put structures for everything. There's a concept that's called basically dosha constitutions, and it basically divide, or I would say it speaks to everyone's body type. So you could be a kapha dominant, which means there is some water in you and some earth elements. You could be a pitta, which means there is a more earth and also air, and then you could be also a vata, which means there is more fire. You could be also a person with all these three constitutions, and you'd be surprised how all these constitutions are actually linked to your health, to your mood, to your hormone balances, and to other additional things. Apart from that, Ayurveda speaks volume when it comes to the mind-body connection, including yoga. And yoga is literally a small part of the whole spectrum of Ayurveda and also the Buddhist concept. Not specifically religious, but it's more about awakening. Another part also is the esoteric knowledge they had for thousands of years. And a lot of those things that Ayurveda or Sanskrit civilization wrote about 1,000 years ago, scientists are literally just right now discovering and coming to more of an agreement with. So deepening my knowledge about that culture and also reading more and discovering more is definitely a mind-blowing experience. And I don't think so it stops with just one point, but it's a learning process. And I just, tiptoe through the water. So I am in my way swimming into discovering the Indian culture. Thank you.
The next question, I have a person in mind for this question. Pilar, which culture has made the greatest contribution to humankind?
Unmute. Sandy, which culture has made the greatest contribution on the humankind? Well, that culture is the new culture. It's this new culture that we created right now because we are becoming aware of this, who we really are. And we are creating this new culture where everybody is developing their own talents. Everybody is getting together in more a loving way, more close together, and creating this new way where the schools are more social and complete on the develop the children's the connection with their parents. Is this culture where the celebrations, as Felicia was talking, the celebrations are everywhere because people become aware that the main thing to be a great community is really to be able to enjoy where they have, where they create. So this new culture, that is the new world, we all belong to that, and we are all enjoying this, and this is a dream come true. Thank you, Sandy.
Paul, why do you think we are so fascinated by celebrity culture?
Well, thank you, Sandy. That's an interesting question. I've wondered why we're so fascinated with celebrities. It makes one think, if someone is good at basketball, why would they be speaking about politics? Or if someone is a movie star, why would they be talking about the environment? I would tend to listen to people that are authorities in certain fields, such as politics or the environment, instead of politicians, or instead of athletes or movie stars or other famous people, just because they're famous and they do well as actors. I don't know if I could trust them anyway, because they're actors. I think it's a culture of fake news. What can you believe? What's really real? The only real news that the only real thing that we can count on is yogurt. Yogurt is a culture that we can truly believe in. It helps you live longer. And it's scientifically proven to have good stuff for the gut. So my gut reaction is go with yogurt, don't go with the celebrities like politicians.
Awesome. Do I have time for one more? One? Okay. Jana, is French really the language of love?
Were you gonna make out with me? You know what? I feel like we're gonna be an expert together on this. What do you think, Jason?
I think so.
So, French is the language of love because everyone that goes there falls deeply in love. You can go there and sit on the Eiffel Tower and gaze ugly and still find beauty
in each
other. Period. There.
What?
Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. I'm speechless. But I am going to step aside for a moment and have Martha give us a timers report.
You're on mute.
Okay, now yes. Table topics. Number 1, Marian, 2 minutes 56 seconds. Number 2, Pilar, 1 minute 26 seconds. Paul, 1 minute 29 seconds. Jana, 57 seconds.
I'm back now. And as I do this, let's see, that was called table topics. So here's the poll for table topics. Take a moment and vote for somebody. And then we'll move on. It's pretty cool. They come right back as soon as you click, right? They just pop up. Keep moving. All right, very good. 13 out of 15 have voted already. Isn't that cool? Of course, you can't see it, but I know who won already.
Do share.
Okay. Oh, in the end, you have to wait till the end of the movie to find out
I know.
what ends. Okay, I'm going to end that polling. We go on. Okay, where are we? We are over, and you know, I would be remiss if I didn't include St. Patrick's Day. Turns out I did 23andMe, and I'm 23% Irish. And so we have to do St. Patrick's Day. But you know, it started out as a religious holiday over in Ireland, but then it gets over here and it mutates to celebrations in pubs and Irish music and lots of beer. And not to be outdone, Oktoberfest has even more beer. That's later in the year. Now, we're going to move on to the next part of the meeting, and that is going to be our general evaluator who's got to come on up and introduce our evaluators. So that is, who is that all the way across the line? It looks like Pilar.
Here it is, Pilar. Again, I'm pleased to be in charge of the second part of the meeting, which is the general evaluator, and to announce the evaluator of the speakers. My first evaluator is Oscar, evaluating Felicia Sutton. Oscar, please.
Thank you. I hope I didn't lose sound. Does everybody hear me? Because I kind of lost a little sound. Well, perfect. Well, thank you, Felicia. That was wonderful. I love, you took us into your world, the world of love, of Carnival, which I don't know much. I've never participated in Carnival. It actually looks kind of scary to me. Like, I don't know, I get swept up and never come back. But what I loved is you really got enthusiastic and you told us what it was, the history of European and African cultures combining. And you used the word of the day throughout, like culture here and culture there and cultural. So you really you knocked that out of the park. You talked about how there were European dances such as the polka and the quadrille, I guess. And then what I thought was most fun was that opportunity you had with the hair ties, where you talked about the different meanings. Like the one was the virgin and then the two was the engaged, but there was still a chance you could rip that person away from their fiance. And then 3, don't touch. And 4, I'll take anything. I don't know if I should be scared of that one, but I think, you know, there's hope for all of us. Anyway, you just got to find a 4. So, I loved everything, and you brought it in, and you got into the camera, and you looked at it. You said, "I love this." So you sold it, and I think that was the purpose of this. You took us where we're celebrating Cinco de Mayo, and you said, "Forget about Cinco. Come to my world. Much better, much more fun. 4 times a year, we hit every holiday, and we do Carnival." So I saw that as a great opportunity. I don't know if I'm totally feeling safe yet, particularly with those ladies with the 4 hair ties. But where I saw opportunity, you know, the visuals, maybe to test them at first because there was some shading back and forth. I think the opportunity is always to stand, to dance, to wear the costume, to sing, to get us to participate, to maybe show it, you know, get the whole group into it. So those are opportunities. You could try it again, but to bring all that in, then maybe even more pictures. I loved you brought the dolls in and you showed who they were. That really helped understand those cultures. And yeah, so for me, it was a great presentation because it came from the heart. It was you, and you were telling us what you loved, and you sold it. And it makes me really want to participate in that culture. And for some of us, yes, if you see those ladies with the 4 hair ties, there's hope.
Thought you were gonna say send them to me.
Yeah, he kind of sounded really excited about that, truth be told.
Poor Wendy.
Okay, thank you, Oscar. That was fantastic evaluation. Now I'm going from our second evaluator, who is going to evaluate Jason. It is Sandy. Sandy?
Before I start, Felicia, my neighbors that own the house next door are from Carnival, and that explains a lot. We don't know them very well because they don't really live here. They rent the house out. But when they're here, the differences are apparent. And so, like, you explaining that helped. So, anyway, Jason, one of the first rules of speaking, according to TEDx, are having the correct title. And I think you had the perfect title for this speech. The title, connecting the dots, that's awesome. Like on a map and physically taking us through that map. We forget that there's pit stops and refueling and all these detours in between. We typically try to remember the big points. I went to Germany, I went to England, I went to here, I went to there. But we don't stop and smell the roses along the way. And I think that's awesome. I wanted to ask you, have you ever heard of the Happiness Diaries? It's on Netflix. And this guy goes through all the way around the world in a VW bug, relying on the goodness of others. I think you should watch it. It's awesome. And the people that take them in and the things you learn are amazing. There's 2 or 3 seasons. But bring a box of tissues on the way. Anyway, I think it's important that we know about the space between the connections because that's where all the memories are. The only thing I would challenge you with is getting rid of the word and, because it's so easy to go and then, and then, and then. You would have a really excellent speech. Just get rid of the word of and, because it's a filler word. Other than that, I think you did a great job. Go watch the Happiness Diaries, though. I'm serious, because that show is awesome, and it's exactly what you're talking about. Back to you, Mr. TM.
Thank you, Sandy.
Oh,
okay.
back to the TE.
TE. All right, Sandy. Now I will ask the timer report for the evaluators, please. Marta?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Evaluator number 1, Oscar, 3 minutes. Evaluator number 2, Sandy, 2 minutes, 27 seconds.
Thank you, Marta. And may I have the accountant report, please, Margaret?
That's me.
Oh,
Patty.
Yes.
Patty. Okay.
Okay. That's my first. The people who spoke today, or the ones that I actually cut on, was George. You had 2 in total. You had 2 butts, obviously. Sorry. Pilar, I got you with 1 Miriam, you participated twice. I got you a total of 5, 1 2 ums, 2 so's. Oscar, I got you a 2 with so. Jana, just 1 with so. Jason, I got you a total of 7, 1 so and 6 and. Felicia got you a total of 3, 1 1 but and 1 so. That's my report for tonight.
Thank you, Patty. And I would like now the grammarian report from Janice.
Okay. Culture was a very popular word tonight. I may not have caught everyone who said it, but Felicia said cultural, which is part of it, and culture. Sandy, I counted at least 3 for you. Pilar, at least 2, and Paul, at least 2. I may have missed some others. I'm sorry about that, but I got kind of caught up in what everybody was saying. I also was counting some of the ahs, the ums, and so's, and like. And Patty, I counted 11 ands for Jason.
Jason,
so,
okay.
Yeah, and Jason, just watch it next time. Okay, for some of the words and phrases that people used, I really concentrated more on some of the positive phrases that I like to hear, except for a couple of them. Felicia, you started off with, I have to admit. Don't say it that way, just say, I admit that, whatever. You also had one incorrect phrase, the Europeans they had, so it would be the Europeans had. I really liked your ready, willing, and I will take anything phrase. And I love Carnival. Watch your dropping of the G's on the ends of some of your words, like dancing in the streets and walking tall on stilts. I really like those phrases, but just watch the dropping of the G's. Jason, there were several phrases that you used that I liked, and words. I really like benchmarks. You don't hear that very often. You did say one phrase, but I felt fortunate. You need to rephrase that one. I really liked Journey Between Those Dots is Where Life Happens. And there's pit stops. The biggest, some of the biggest, so it was a little bit of a repeat. And we can be the connection between each other. Really good phrases, Jason. I like that. Sandy, I liked your, the differences are apparent, and pit stops and refueling and points in between. Those were good phrases to put in there. Miriam, Miriam, I loved your frickin' amazing. And these three constitutions and esoteric knowledge, it's not a word that you hear very often, so good job with that. Pilar, I really liked when you were saying the celebrations are everywhere, which was a really good point. Paul, yogurt is the only culture we can believe in. Good job with that one. And Oscar, one of the things that you said was, I love you took us into your world. So there was a little bit of a rephrasing that needed to be done with that one. But I really liked when you said you sold it. So that's my report tonight.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you. And before giving back to the Toastmaster, I will give my feedback, my general feedback from the meeting. I would like to point out that we are getting more and more comfortable in this virtual situation. And I'm sorry, but the screen went. So it feels like we're getting more comfortable, and I enjoy the creativity that each one of us starts showing as we feel comfortable. So that makes the meetings really enjoyable. And I know, George, you will ask to the visitors after how they feel about the meeting, but this is my report. It feels like as we relax more in this new environment, we enjoy it more. We have more fun. It's kind of as we are more free. The only thing we're missing is to hug each other, and I miss to do that. And so the organization and this mood of the meeting is, I think, is we're getting more and more to the point, on time. And now I'm going to give the meeting back to our Toastmaster, George. Thank you.
And thank you. Did we finish voting yet? It looks like we did. I'm going to end that polling so we know who won this. Why? Okay, let me close out our trip around the world by taking you over to Spain, a place called Bonol, Spain. Did you know that that's where the world's biggest food fight is held? People take and throw crushed tomatoes, and I think it's 220,000 pounds of tomatoes in 1 hour. They throw that many tomatoes because to promote happiness and entertainment. There's a good reason for a party, isn't it? You know, I don't want to say on a sadder note, but the other one that I wanted to point out to you is called, I got to say it right, because I got a Hispanic in front of me here. Dia de los Muertos. And that's the Day of the Dead. Now, I've been to San Diego many times, and in San Diego, you know, San Diego is only about this far from Tijuana. So a lot of it's come over from Mexico, so it's a big celebration in San Diego, and I've seen it. And it's where you celebrate or think about the people who've passed on before you. Now, if you've ever seen the movie Coco, it's really a cute movie, but you learn all about the Day of the Dead, how that works. Okay, you ready to find out who won our best of tonight? We close a screen or two. All right, where do we start? Ready to put your hands together for Best Evaluator? Sandy.
Yay, Sandy.
All right, Best Table Topics? Miriam. Where are you, girl? And Best Speaker, Alicia.
Yay, Felicia!
Thank you. I think, yep, that wraps up my role. So I'm ready to turn it over to our presiding officer, our club president, Margaret Kenkelon. No, wait a minute. Did we do Quizzer?
No.
We didn't do Quizzer, did we?
No,
Well,
not yet.
Margaret, why don't you be the Quizzer and the presiding officer?
That's a good idea, George. You just have the best ideas. Okay, who said, what is Kapala? No, not who said it. What is Kapala?
Felicia.
Very good. Well, what is it? Do you remember what it is, Paul?
It's one of the drums.
No, isn't that a dance?
I'm not sure.
It's the celebration of the sugar harvest, right, Felicia? Everybody needs to unmute.
You mean the sugar, the end of the sugar cane harvest? It's actually called crop over in Barbados.
Well, crop over. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like the crop is over.
Okay. Who said 8 minutes and 3 seconds?
Martha.
Martha.
Very good. What does the Holly Festival commemorate? Am I
It's an Indian festival. Indian festival.
in India? India?
Yep.
Who said, what is the only culture we can rely on?
Paul.
Yogurt.
Did you
Yogurt.
No, he said who? It's Paul.
Oh, yeah.
I like yogurt.
Who said, go watch the Happiness Diaries?
Sandy.
Sandy. Starts with an S.
Okay, that's all I have for today.
Yay.
Oh, I do have one more. Who
Alex.
said you had 2 butts?
George.
Martha, is that true? Does George have 2 butts?
Oscar.
I like 2 butts and I cannot lie.
I love it.
Okay, that is all. Okay, now we have a special invite from a club in Japan, and George is going to tell us about that.
That's right, Margaret. My daughter Ginger was in a club over in Japan last year when she was kind of stationed over there. She worked at a Navy base over there. But now we can do our tele video conferences. So she's been invited back to Japan to participate with them, as well as us, because I went over last year and was able to do a speech over there. And so I got to know the folks in the club, and I've been following that club ever since. So on Friday night, now remember, Friday night is late because the time change in Japan is different. They're 13 hours ahead of us here. And Janice, that would make them 11 hours ahead of you. So their meeting for us would be at 10 p.m. Friday night. So I hope you can come. If you'd like, I'll just send out the invite to this.
Is it 8 to 10 p.m. or 10 p.m.?
No, it starts at 10. I didn't
Okay.
see the end time on it.
Okay.
But she would like people to come. In fact, Jana Banana is going to be a speaker for us over there.
I'll be there.
Now, thank you. Now, Paul, do you want me to send you an invite?
I promise that I will be speaking alone, and we will not be speaking as
Okay. Now they have one speaker from their club speaking, as well as you got competition from my daughter, Ginger.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
This past week at World Toasters, we had somebody from Shanghai who was actually from Wuhan speaking about the beginning of the coronavirus. And we had somebody from London who was practicing his district contest speech.
Yeah.
So it's really open to the world right now. So reach out to anybody you know or anybody you care to know or clubs around the world and get them involved, because you don't know who's going to join your club, number one. And number two, it's just amazing to see the way the people are around the world. The club I went to in London had people from South Africa, and George was there, and Oscar was there. They had people from South Africa. They had people from Italy. They had people from Canada. They had people from all over the world attending their meetings. So this is really a great platform to get to know your way around the world.
That's right. This is the time. We can really make this happen.
Can you send me the link, George, please?
Who said that?
Me,
Miriam.
Miriam, sorry, your face was hit by a pop-up.
I'd also like the link as well. Dakota said that.
Okay, thanks, Dakota. Appreciate it.
Pilar?
We want to support these other clubs, and this is a good way to do it, and get to learn a little bit about the Japanese culture. You're going to find they're very respectful. They don't even use first names. They use last names only. They'll say TM Hazard or TM DePrimo, or and when you're there in person, of course, they bow to you, and it's really impressive. Really impressive.
If anyone gets,
go ahead.
If anyone gets information about other out-of-country English-speaking groups, please share that, because we would love to get involved in other groups as well. It's just very difficult to sometimes get through to the president or whoever's in charge.
Jason and I have been trying to reach out to the European Toastmasters now for the last 4 weeks. And we have run into obstacle after obstacle after obstacle.
I'll send you the one from London.
Thank you.
But I also send you the one from Shanghai. Even though the Shanghai one is Shanghai Disneyland and is more corporate, but you can still go as a guest. And they're trying to build they're going to try to change their meeting time to be the same as World Toasters so that they can be a part of World Toasters, because they only have 7 members. And if they're cast members, they can join in the United States and transfer here. Or we can help them build. But I'll send you both.
Awesome. Thanks, Sandy. You're the best.
We would all like you to come to World Toasters tomorrow, and they may even show up tomorrow. So please come.
I've got to say that the lady from Wuhan gave an awesome speech, a very emotional speech about struggling to take care of her parents during that trying time. Very good.
I heard her speech, and I thought her speech was so raw, and she was from the heart.
You felt it. Wow. Okay, who's holding that magic gavel?
It's like those, like just.
Wait, no, Margaret, you got something else, don't you?
I've got some other things to take care of.
Put it down, Oscar.
First of all, before we set up for next week, I'd like to get comments from our guests. Paul, would you like to say something? Is Paul still on?
Yeah, I'm here.
There you are.
Hey, Margaret. With a conversation about clubs around the world, Margaret is a source of information as well. She's been all over the world visiting clubs, if she hasn't mentioned that already. Hey, this has been an enjoyable meeting. Thanks for having me here. It's a fun club. And hopefully we can meet in person sometime.
Yes.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for joining us, Paul. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jana.
Thank you for coming, Paul.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yogurt.
The real culture.
And Janice, how about you?
Thank you for letting me be here tonight and participating. I had a great time. I think this is a really great group. I've enjoyed myself a lot. Thanks.
Yay. You're practically one of us now, Janice.
Yeah. Marion today.
Well, you know, years ago I worked at the Disney Studio in Burbank, and I may have mentioned this. We started a club when I worked there. It didn't last long after I left, but it was a lot of fun. So it's nice to participate in another Disney club or Disney-related club. So
Nice.
thanks.
Good. Okay. So for our next meeting, the Toastmaster, I think, is
Pilar.
Pilar.
Yep.
And how about the Toastmaster Minute? Who wants to do that?
I'm happy to do that. Oscar?
Okay. Who wants to speak? Speakers.
I'll speak.
Who?
Jana.
Jana. Okay.
She's practicing.
I'll speak.
All right, Sandy. And who wants to evaluate Jana?
I'll evaluate Jana.
Okay, Dakota.
Who was that?
That was
Dakota.
Dakota. Okay. Oh, hi, Dakota.
Hey, Sandy.
And who wants to evaluate Sandy?
Nobody.
I can evaluate Sandy.
Okay.
I would gladly do it.
Who wants to do table topics?
I do. George.
George. And who wants to be general evaluator?
Come on.
I can do that.
Miriam? Or, I'm sorry, Margaret?
Yeah, I'll do it. Okay. I think
We need a timer.
We need
And
the
a
timer. I mean,
Marion.
how did I not get a timer?
counter and quizzer or master quizzer.
Timer. Who wants to time?
That lady right over there.
Martha.
Martha.
Who wants to be grammarian?
I'm thinking.
Guys, I don't know if I told you, I can do, like, my brain is fried. I'm taking 2 classes for this month, and
I'll take notes for you next week.
plus I'm doing homeschooling. So my
Okay.
brain is just fried by the end of the day.
Can one person do more than one thing?
Yes.
What was the question that you want? What was the position you wanted to fill?
Grammarian.
We have grammarian, counter, and quizzer.
I can be the quizzer.
Dakota.
Well, we could get the eye counter when we find out. Usually we have a few more
I can do something else. What else do you have? Grammarian?
grammarian and eye counter.
I can do one of those. Just assign me, Margaret.
Oh,
Whatever you choose.
I'll assign you to eye counter.
Perfect.
All right.
George, can you be grammarian?
Be grammarian.
George, can you do it?
Yeah.
What?
Grammarian.
Oh, I said assign Jason.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Is that all right, Jason? Good?
Okay.
Turn around and eat.
Okay.
I think we're good.
Okay.
I think we
Awesome.
This is an awesome meeting.
Oscar's the sergeant at arms.
Yeah. Yeah, he's.
What's that mean, Oscar?
Oh, we need an energizer. We need an energizer.
I could do an energizer.
Oscar is the energizer.
Yeah, the bunny and the minute or whatever that is, right? I can combine the bunny or the energizer bunny in the minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.